Team the vote.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno. Hey, what is up, everybody? Happy Saturday afternoon. It's a weird start time, isn't it? These 3 o'clock games, really different. Couldn't be a bigger one for the Kings. We said coming into these two with these Lakers that this had to be a split at the very least. And I know many of you have a lot of choices to choose from right now. There is a ton of good stuff on the television. So the fact that you're here with us, getting ready for the Kings and the Lakers, we so appreciate it. I know I speak on behalf of Grant. We'll talk about it on the other side. Also, we got to talk about Fox. New article in The Athletic. We talked about it yesterday before it dropped in The Athletic. We'll get to all of it. And Domas, most importantly, he is questionable. He's going to be a game time decision. We'll see if he's going to be good to go. All on the other side. Welcome in. Pregame show here on If You Don't Like That.
Grant and Ryan break it down. It's Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of Williams, the D-line. Fox, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that.
And welcome back in. Ryan in Sacktown with you. We're bringing you the Kings and the Lakers. We're here all day with you, starting right now the pregame. We're going to talk about this matchup. I mean, really, what is there to talk about? We know what the Kings need to do. Coach Brown still searching for answers. Certainly does not know who's going to step up, but he needs somebody to step up. And I found a question that was asked to him yesterday. Very interesting because he ducked the answer. He ducked the answer to the question. Anyways, we'll get to it all in a little bit. As for the Lakers, LeBron, game time decision. My guess is LeBron's going to give it a go. He's had time off. You get a day in between the games, but we'll see. Get up here in the chat. I've already seen some of you up in here. Tadora and Baki are in the house. Love it. Absolutely love it. Dennis, yes, Domas is questionable. He is questionable, my friend. That back is bugging him. That was a very hard fall. He took a really hard fall the other day. By the way, we are brought to you by Bennett's. Yes, 3 locations in the greater Sacramento area. Hey, you know, I talk about it enough. Actions speak louder than words. Check out the text that Brian Bennett sent to me. This could be your party, your get-together at the restaurant.
I don't know about you, but if you're thinking about having a holiday party or a party of any kind, and you don't ask us to make our house smoked salmon, to grill our prime New York steak, to grill long stem artichokes, to make ahi pokey, what are you talking about? You're going to have a party and you're not going to call Bennett's and have them take care of you? My goodness gracious. Give us a call. We can make this for Easter. We can make it for Christmas. We can make it for anybody's.
Pick up the phone now. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can get the phone numbers for all 3 of their locations in the greater Sacramento area. You can also make reservations. You can check out their full menu and specials all right there. That is bennettsrestaurants.com. So Coach Brown, the Kings, back to the practice floor. Yesterday, Coach had this to say after watching the film.
First saying that they need to do. How important is that for this group and with previous teams that you've coached? Is that the mentality that they need to kind of turn this corner, is to take that accountability themselves?
100%, but it's not just them taking accountability. I got to take accountability too, because it starts with me as a head coach and Foxy. and it's hard to be a great player of what I'm pushing because Fox has more than a chance to do it. He's on the verge of doing it. To be a great player that helps your team win at the highest level is absolutely freaking hard. But it's my job to push him to do that and be that because he's been almost a great player, but he hasn't consistently pushed his team to win. That's one of his next biggest steps. But it starts with him. It starts with me. And we have to be held accountable for who we are and the amount of money we make comparative to everybody else. That's the first thing. Next thing is in order to have in your business, if somebody screws up and they're like, hey, you did it. It wasn't my fault that the camera wasn't working or that the mic wasn't working and we didn't get this thing. You bought this cheap device for us to use. Your whole thing gonna fall apart. So everybody has to have some sort of accountability to what's going on with whatever process you're going through. Just as importantly is you guys gotta hold each other accountable too. It can't always come from your president or your vice president or whoever's in charge. Sometimes
Interesting comments there. We're going to listen to the second half of them in a second. First, want to go to the phones. Like I said, get involved with the show. Start going through the chat. But let's bring Zach, NBA guru, into the conversation. What's up, Zach? Thanks
How
for
you
being
doing?
here.
How you doing right now?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I kind of just want to talk about the news that came out about Fox today. Just want to see your kind of take on it. I know it's kind of been mentioned throughout the season. It's probably nothing new, but I guess the newest thing is how the Spurs are trying to position themselves to try to get their chance on Fox and kind of start talking about that.
So hang tight, Zach. This was yesterday's Kings Court. Reset this for everybody. I put this out in June because I've been covering this since last season, talking to some sources that are close to the situation. And that's what I put out. The biggest part of me, and I talked about it on Grant's show, is that second line. He wanted to see how the roster develops here in Sacramento because he wants to win, right? Well, we listened to the two clips of De'Aaron on Draymond's podcast, which again, is it a good look to go on Draymond's podcast right now? I get that you've got your signature shoe dropping, but timing's everything, right? And I brought up last season. Timing was off last season too, to a degree, when De'Aaron went on that 16-day stretch where he didn't speak to the media when the Kings were on that long road trip. And so then we get Mike Brown coming out. And Mike Brown basically saying De'Aaron should be a superstar, but he's not going to be a superstar until he starts doing these things. And it was a little bit out of the blue. But the question I ask everybody here is, was it really out of the blue? Are these things maybe connected? And I don't want to go like way conspiracy theory and too far off the charts, because the bottom line is they could have absolutely no connection. And Coach Brown's absolutely right. De'Aaron needs to be better. And I think De'Aaron's having one of the best segments, best portions of his career so far this season, since right before the 60-point, the 49-point game, when he decided, I'm going to get to the paint. That has been the best version of De'Aaron Fox. And you look at the moves that were earlier this year with DeMar DeRozan. De'Aaron was heavily involved in that, right? He met with DeMar that day. He was part of the recruiting process. So certainly De'Aaron is having some say within this organization. And so everybody is focusing on this first part, that he wants the Supermax. Yes, that's true. He wants the Supermax. I am personally saying I think he wants to win more. And he kind of confirmed that in his comments with Draymond. I'm going to play him one more time for everybody if you are just joining the show. He talked about the organization needed to do everything that they can. The organization needs to do everything. All right.
Hey, Ryno. Ryno offline. Is it just me? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Is it just me out here? Ryan is not in the building. He's frozen. Looks like it is frozen right now. Ryno, what's going on? Looks like he's about to say something very, very intense here. We got a lot of stuff going on with the Kings. Darren Fox is on the clock. He wants stuff to make happen. The Kings are getting pressurized to do stuff, and it's going to be interesting because these next couple weeks, it could get ugly. It could not. Will they make a move? I don't know. But if the Kings are thinking that Fox is going to leave and we're just going to keep playing poorly, then maybe the move is to give him up because his value is just going to decrease as the months go by, and that's it could. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think the coach is gonna be. Once you fire the coach, then Fox is gone for sure, and everything is gonna be a firing show. So it's very interesting, but we got a lot going on. The Kings and the Lakers today. It's a big game. Honestly, if the Kings get blown out, it's I don't know what to say anymore because it's going to get really, really ugly if the Kings get blown out these next two games. But I don't think they will. I think they'll play well today. Yeah, like Donald's saying, it's definitely going to get worse if they lose today. And just looking at the comments here, our biggest trade asset is Fox. I agree, Dennis. And the Spurs, if we would trade with them, I was looking at their team. I'm thinking if we even had to go that route, I'm not saying we will. I'm not saying we won't, but it's they got a couple of few good young players. They got Castle. They got Champagne, and they got Devin Vassell. I think those are three very good assets. And Jeremy Sohan is also another player. So they got some players, but it's nothing. Darren Fox is a top 50 player, or sorry, a top 20 player. Darren Fox is a top 20 player. And we can't just be trading him for 2 first-round picks to the Spurs, who are probably going to be very, very good in the next 10 years. So Monty's got a lot on his hands right now. He hasn't done anything in a long, long time. And, you know, he had a decent – I mean, we thought he had a decent offseason with DeMar and re-signing Monk, re-signing Mike Brown. But it's it's tough for him because we don't know what offers he's getting. We just don't know. I don't know how Monty's doing and what offers he's being offered and what he's throwing out to the teams. We don't got a lot of assets to be thrown around. If we trade like a Kevin Huerter, a Trey Lyles, a first round pick for a Cam Johnson, is that really going to help us win 10 more games, 8 more games? I don't think so. It's going to make our bench even worse. So there's a lot of questions for Monty to answer. Really, and it all starts with De'Aaron Fox, who is at the top of this team, and you know he's slowly. I mean, like you guys are seeing, he's going slowly and slowly on these radio shows, the Draymond Green show, and just talking about how the roster needs improvement, and it's honestly. I mean, we all knew that De'Aaron Fox wants to win, right? And it's going to be just a lot of tough stuff for Monty McNair. But let's look at the comments here. Bennett's. Got to throw out their name. Calusa. Calusa's another one. Um, no HOA, no homeowners. Thank you, Derek. These guys know the ads by heart at this point. Ryno's back.
Have you been running the show?
I've been last like 5 minutes just trying to carry,
Dude,
trying to help
way
you
to
out here.
carry it. Appreciate you, Zach, doing that. By the way, sorry about that. Everybody's system crashed on my end. We're back and good, Zach. You are the MVP of the pregame show, dude. Well
Just-
done.
Hey, you've taken me when I've been frozen, so
No,
that is
appreciate
insane.
that very much. And thanks everybody for hanging in there. So back to what I was saying is I was hearing rumblings about all this and putting the pieces together on how this was happening between the timeline of De'Aaron and the podcast, especially with it being with Draymond. Then you fast forward to Coach Brown calling out De'Aaron, yada, yada, yada. And here we are. And it's something that's been widely talked about. Well, does he want the Supermax? Does he want the team to be better? Well, he wants the team to be better and he wants to win, but that's a two-way street. He needs to be better as well. Yet, if you're the Kings and you're Monty McNair and you're Vivek Ranadive with no guarantee that this guy's going to stick around, how drastic are the moves that you're going to make? And so they are at a pivotal crossroads. And Rich Paul, by the way, not a coincidence, he was with De'Aaron's wife last game. Rich Paul met with Wes Wilcox and Monty McNair to talk about the direction of the team. And so, yeah, I don't know that things are heating up per se, Zach, but what do the Kings do? We're at this crossroads, and I've been saying it for a long time. It's coming sooner rather than later, and here it is.
Yeah, it's a question that Monty is gonna have to go through very, very considerately. But I mean, like I was saying, like if the Kings trade a Kevin Huerter, a Trey Lyles, a first-round pick for a wing like a Cam Johnson or something like that, if they added Keon, I don't know, something like that, is that really gonna help the team? Um, is that really gonna help the team? 6, 8 wins? I don't think so. Our bench is going to get worse. So if we're going to trade for another player like a Jeremy Grant or a Cam Johnson, we're going to be trading, a couple picks and a couple of our rotation players, and that's just going to make our bench even worse. And there's so many issues with this team, to be honest, is what I'm seeing. And the other question to ask is De'Aaron Fox a true number one?
You know what? It's so funny that you just asked that question because I'm prepared to say it, and I was prepared before your call to say this. I do not think De'Aaron Fox is a number one that you win a championship with. I think De'Aaron Fox is a great number two, maybe a number three. He can be a special player, an all-star in the league, but we know what De'Aaron Fox is. He's been here for how many years now? He's been to the playoffs once, and partially that's on the back of Sabonis. That's when those two linked up. Now you can make the argument that he didn't always have the best talent around him. But the bottom line is, I don't think I have seen enough to say De'Aaron Fox will lead you to a championship. I think no matter what you do, even if you make some of the bigger moves that you're talking about, I don't think it changes anything. I think we've had the sample size and I think it's finding, and I'm not saying we're even close to this point where the Kings are not going to be in any rush to trade this guy. Let's be realistic. Just because the Spurs want him, just because other teams want him, you need to get the best deal. But what's at stake here is the difference between a rebuild and a recalibration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the question. I'm 100% with you. By the way, I do not think De'Aaron Fox is a number one at this point. I think he would be a great number two for a championship team, but it's just going to be tough because he's looking like that type of Bradley Beal type player where you want to pay up, but he's not really a true number one on a team. So it's going to be interesting. But if are we going to recalibrate with Fox? I don't know if there's those type of trades out there. I feel like if a Fox is to be traded, it would be something for younger players. But that's just asking for a rebuild, and I don't know if that's what the team wants, and I don't know if that's what Vivek wants either.
Okay, I don't see. This is where I disagree. I mean, unless you and Zach, I'm not disagreeing about getting younger players and picks, but you still have Domantas Sabonis. under contract. You still have you got Malik now for a couple more years. I know there's an option on the back end of that. You probably re-sign Keegan Murray. I think you've got a very good core here in Sacramento. And let's also point to this really quick. Since this offense has started surging, when Malik Monk got put in the starting lineup, who has been the point guard? It's been Malik Monk. And I'm not taking away anything from De'Aaron Fox, because having Fox on the court definitely helps detract attention away from Monk. But the style of basketball is much different when you have a true point guard. And Malik is the closest thing there is to a true point guard. And he's not even that yet. So I think that you can still be very competitive without doing a complete rebuild, but what's the rush?
And like you've mentioned before, the Fox and Sabonis combination, the Malik and Sabonis combinations, probably they work a little bit better than the Fox and Sabonis. The pick and roll game is just too nice with Monk and Sabonis. So having a Monk as the starting point guard is not a bad play if we can get Fox to get. I mean, what's our biggest weakness is a wing, right? If we can trade Fox for a legitimate wing, then I think we could still stay competitive. I just don't know if that player's out there. I don't know if Monty is looking at those type of things.
We don't know. Here's what I know, and I again been saying it for a very long time, not trying to toot my own horn. You are at a point, and I think this is the biggest question, and you asked it perfectly. Can you win with Fox as a number one, right, in this franchise? But you are at a point where if you take this too far and you don't do this the right way, the Kings could be in a complete rebuild very easily if you let this drag out. If you let Fox, and when I say drag out, you let it go late into next season. If you get nothing in return for Fox or minimum return for Fox, you are in deep trouble. But then even if you keep Fox, what are you maybe giving up, right? So it's a tricky situation. I know the story just came out in The Athletic. There's a lot to navigate, a lot to talk about, but I don't think anybody is really surprised by it.
No, nobody's surprised.
Yeah.
And the one thing is to also mention, if we're a 1 through 10 seed in the West this year, we will lose our pick. That's another asset. If it would be disastrous if we become the 9th, 10th seed, don't make playoffs, and lose another asset for our first round pick from the Kevin Herter trade.
Yeah.
Just all these things.
And look, nobody's asked this question. What did De'Aaron Fox think about them drafting Devin Carter?
Right.
That question has not been asked.
He was upset when Tyrese Halliburton was drafted, and he didn't have a great year, and he was just kind of complaining at that point as well. So we helped him out. We traded Tyrese, and we got a big man for him. And we got some wins. But like you've said before, the chemistry is probably not the most elite that I've seen from a 1 and 2 best player combo on a team. So that's something. And then, yeah, Vlade, it's not De'Aaron Fox's fault or anything, but just throwing out there, we have tried to help Fox in the past. And Vlade didn't want to get another guard like Luka. And so we tried to get a big man for him, like Bagley, to do that, the 1-4 punch. Because, I think he was always, Vlade always wanted to get he always believed in that big man and the point guard kind of combination, like a Bibby, Chris Webber type thing. And so just some things to think about, that the team has tried to help out Fox, but I know, and Fox deserves more talent. I'm not disagreeing with that, but we have also tried to help him out as well.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. Vlade spoke out about this earlier this year. I mean, obviously, he opted to go with Fox over Luka, but I'm pulling up the comments right now. In terms of talent in game, he is on the right track, Divock said. He's talking about Nikola there. I'm going real time with this. Oh, here we go. Right now, De'Aaron Fox isn't close to, so I'll pull it up in a second. But I want to read it correct because it's being translated. But yeah, good point, Zach. I want to get into this a little more, get with the chat. Thanks for holding down the show, brother.
You got it, Ryno.
Appreciate you, dude. Well freaking done, NBA guru, Zach. Nailing it. All right, let's reset because I did lay out a little bit and my thoughts are completely scattered, jumping back and forth into conversations with Zach and looking at the chat. So, first and foremost, Domas Sabonis, he is in the lineup today. Good to go. You also have Trey Lyles available. So, this is about as healthy as the Kings have been. Let's reset this entire timeline really quick. Just really, really quick with De'Aaron Fox. Okay. Going back to June, and I'm going to put this up. I put this out in June before he did the article, did the interview with The Athletic. Said that he wants to see how this team develops. He wants to win. And he's not sure that with the roster this team currently has and the lack of moves that the team had made up until this last offseason, if that was going to happen. So that was one of the things, as well as holding out for the Supermax. You have Mike Brown, who calls out De'Aaron Fox after the Nuggets game, calls him out fairly boldly, about as bold as you can for Mike Brown, being a player's coach. How does De'Aaron Fox respond? He has a very bad game against the Lakers, a frustrating game. Now, the podcast that we're talking about with Draymond, that dropped before the Nuggets game. Rich Paul in town for the Lakers game, sitting with De'Aaron's wife. He met with Wes Wilcox and also Monte McNair to talk about the direction of the team and the options on the table. So I think I've kind of laid the circumstances out fairly well for everybody to understand. Nothing new here, nothing new at all. But we talked coming into this season that this was going to come up sooner rather than later. And we also said if the Kings struggle, this is going to come up very, very soon, sooner than it should. And here we are. So the risk you run if you are the Kings, because you have De'Aaron Fox for another year and a half, this is the decision that needs to be made. Not saying it needs to be made right now, but sometime, probably before the trade deadline, the decision needs to be made whether or not you can win a championship with De'Aaron Fox. You have to evaluate what you have done for De'Aaron Fox. You have to evaluate what De'Aaron Fox has done for the franchise. You have to look at the pros. What have we done to help complement his game? Improve this team. You have to look at the cons, opportunities that we may have missed to improve this team. And then you look at the history since De'Aaron Fox has been here. The Tyrese Halliburton situation, which Zach brought up, and it's a very fair point. A similar guard to De'Aaron. Many of you say, oh, we should have traded De'Aaron. Well, guess what? De'Aaron was not on the table to be traded at that time. The Pacers wanted Halliburton, but what did the Kings do? The Kings traded Hallie. They bring in Sabonis. Now, this is a question if you've been watching the Kings Court, if you have been watching our program for the last year, it's a question that I have been asking all of you. I have asked people with the team, around the team, that cover the team. And the question is this: does De'Aaron Fox and Domas Sabonis make each other better? Do they make each other better? Put your answers in the chat. I know a lot of you have answered it before. If you haven't, give me your answer. Do they make each other better? I will tell you what I have heard definitively from those that I have talked to. 9 out of 10 people say that Domas definitely makes De'Aaron better. It's a mixed bag as to whether Fox makes Domas better. So what's your take on that? Does Fox make Domas better? I can tell you where I lean. And I think my point's been actually more validated as this season's gone along. Look at how Sabonis and Monk play the pick and roll together. Also look at the pick and roll and its impact on this Kings offense. Although their record since Malik Monk has started has not been good, the numbers in the offense has been way up. So when I look at that relationship between Fox and Sabonis, I can't definitively say that De'Aaron Fox makes Domantas Sabonis better. I can't. There's not much of a pick and roll game there. A lot of times they miss each other. A lot of times they're not paired up together, playing off of each other's strengths. Now, that's not all on De'Aaron Fox. Let's be really clear about that. That's also coaching. That is a lot of things. But have those two made each other better? Let me know in the chat. Let's go back to the phones, bringing in Jay into the conversation. Jay, what's up, man?
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Good. How you doing,
You
brother?
and chat doing, I guess.
Excellent. What's going on today?
Nothing much. I saw that today, the athletic report on Rich Paul meeting with Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox about you can assume De'Aaron Fox's future and the future plans for this organization. I would say that's quite interesting, but I wouldn't look too deep into it. I think it's all a part of negotiating. For example, like, if Fox is an all NBA player, do you plan to give him a supermax? Right? Things like that. Not necessarily, hey, you guys have to do something or my guy's going somewhere else.
Okay, well, unless De'Aaron Fox gets a triple-double the rest of the season, has a game where he scores 100, he's not making All-NBA this year. I think we can quit talking about that. And no disrespect to you. There's a lot of people still talking about that. He is not even an all-star as we sit right now.
Yeah, I mean, my point, I don't really care if All-NBA, whatever. My point is, it's what are you going to offer this guy? Are you willing to offer the max? Are you committed to this guy long term? To get clarity on that. And if you are committed to this guy long term, after, it's kind of funny how the podcast, it came out the same day.
Well, okay. I have to be careful what I say right now around that because, again, if you noticed yesterday, I was tipping-toeing around some things. I'm not going to connect the two, but the timing. Look, here's the bottom line. If you are a player like De'Aaron Fox, fair or not fair, he is seen as the face of this team. Now, if you look at the payroll, you would say Domantas Sabonis is the face of the team. He makes the most money. He got extended. You would say that's the guy that the pressure should fall on. But no, it falls on Fox. He's the most tenured guy. He is. You always talk about the business of sports. He's the face of the franchise, right?
Yep.
You have to be really careful when you're in that position. When you're extracting, and I'm not saying De'Aaron's doing this. I'm not saying that Rich Paul is doing this. But when you drop a podcast, and I get there's good things there. De'Aaron's saying, I love Sacramento. My home is in Sacramento. My kids' grandparents live in Sacramento. Those are all positive things. He wants to be here, but it's very hard to say in the same breath. In fact, Jay, let's play it really quick for those that didn't hear it, and we're going to continue this conversation. This was De'Aaron Fox. Here's the two clips of him on the Draymond Green podcast. Give you some context, and we'll talk briefly in between both of them. Here's the first one.
I love the city. Like, I love being here. I've raised my family here. We got our grandparent there, or the kids' grandparents here. Like, I would love to be here and retire here, play. I mean, how many people can say they played in one organization for their whole career? Like, I want to be a part of that select few people. But at the end of the day, I also want to win. So,
you gotta win. Especially where you at.
That's where you make your real money.
You want an elite. You know what I mean? You want that window. You want that chance, man. And, you know, I think you got to put yourself in the best situation at all times. Especially when you're in the prime of your career.
I'm coming up on those years. So
yeah,
they know I'm gonna give all I got. But at the end of the day, brother, organization also got to give all they got. So like that's where we are right now.
I respect you.
Okay, so the organization has to give all they got.
Proper English would be all they have, but
Right, but I'm quoting what he said, right?
yeah.
So here's my point. If you're going to say that about the organization publicly, you better make sure that you're balling out. You better make sure that your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. And I think that there's definitely some room there that the coaching staff, the front office could argue, hey, De'Aaron, there's more you could be doing. So if you want to tie the two together, you can. I don't think it's a big jump. And the timing of it, very curious. I just think in the midst of all of this, Jay, where the Kings are having an up and down year, Fox has been up and down. They're trying to figure things out. We all know individually this team is better than what their record shows, but for whatever reason, they can't put it together as a whole. It was a bad time and a really bad look to drop that kind of podcast. As we lose Jay, we'll see if we can get him back. Here's the second clip of De'Aaron with Draymond.
So, but to pass on that amount of money and just play the season out.
For me, man, it has all to do with just the team, the organization. Where are we going? I want to make sure that we're in a position to try to win in the future, because that's ultimately what I want to do. Like, I know I make enough money regardless of where I play or what I do. Like, I'm gonna be fine, unless God forbid, knock on wood, that you have a career in injury. But aside from that, like, I feel like I'm continuing to get better as a player every year. But for me, are we looking like we're continuing to get better year after year, and are we going to be able to compete at a high level? And that's all mine is. Like, if we can show that this year, like, you sign an extension now. If not, like, obviously I still have another year, but that's where my mindset is. At some point, will we be able to compete for a championship or really compete at a high level for a long time?
Holy crap. Look, this Fox stuff, I know it is important to Kings fans, but in the grand scheme of things, when news like this happens, it's not nearly as important as the passing of Rickey Henderson. Wow. Rickey Henderson. Many of us grew up on Rickey Henderson, 65 years old. Oakland A's legend has passed away. 9-time All-Star, 25-year MLB career. How tragic. We are losing so many sports icons. Way too early. Unbelievable. Rickey Henderson dead at the age of 65. Tragic. Rickey Henderson, Baseball Hall of Famer, all-time MLB stolen base king, and widely regarded as the greatest leadoff hitter ever, has died at the age of 65, according to many outlets. Yahoo Sports is what I am looking at right now. New York Post also reporting the same. TMZ reporting, not that it matters, that he passed away, though, yesterday, battling pneumonia. Rickey Henderson, dead at 65. My goodness. Peter, Rickey didn't make it into the Hall of Fame way until later in his career, because he still wanted to play, even at the minor league level. Wow. R.I.P. Rickey, yes. John Finch, same thing. Donald. I could only imagine some of the stories some of you have about Rickey Henderson. Grant has talked about being around Rickey Henderson in the past. Grant actually shared a really good story, and I'm not going to speak for Grant. We'll let him reflect later today. We are breaking format for this because it's a local guy. It's one of the names that I grew up with. I think about, if you have kids that are teenagers right now, then they grew up with the Giants, right? Winning their 3 championships. 2 or 3 championships. I believe it was 3. Or 2 in 3 years, I believe. Excuse me. They grew up with all those guys. For me, it was Rickey Henderson. It was Jose Canseco. It was Mark McGwire. The A's were the team back then. I mean, that was Rickey was a bigger than life personality. Rickey's the only person that I know. And I didn't know him personally. In fact, I've never met Rickey Henderson. But would commonly refer to himself in the third person. And you know what? That's okay. You're Rickey freaking Henderson. You are allowed to talk to yourself or talk about yourself in the third person. Rickey Henderson, both coasts. Yeah, that's true. East Coast as well. Rickey Henderson used to go to my track meets at ARC. Nephew was on the team. Wow. Very cool. Man, what a loss. What a loss for Oakland. I think about athletes in Oakland. I don't think there could have been losing a bigger athlete. Maybe Marshawn Lynch, but true Oakland to the bone, that was Rickey Henderson. Yeah, God bless the A's and God bless Rickey. Man, I'm sure Grant is going to have a lot on this, a ton on this coming up in a little bit. But yes, deepest condolences, excuse me, to the Henderson family, Oakland A's fans, his family, baseball fans. Very unfortunate, tragic, 65 years old. It's too early. 65. Man, it's been a bad year. This has been an awful year for losing athletes. Tragic. Absolutely tragic. The impact that Rickey Henderson had on baseball. Man. All right. Damian Lillard from Oakland, yeah. Wow. Rickey Henderson. Let's move on, and we'll try to move on. I mean, it's really nearly impossible to move on. That's massive news. We do have the Kings and the Lakers still coming up. This entire De'Aaron Fox situation, again, not trying to pour gasoline on the fire here when it comes to De'Aaron Fox. In fact, anybody that is shocked by this, Wilson says he was going to be 66 on Christmas Day. Tragic. TMZ saying he passed away yesterday in Oakland after battling pneumonia. Hall of Famer, stolen base king, Mount Rushmore of Oakland athletes, Mount Rushmore easy. Rickey Henderson played in Oakland and lived in Oakland. Died in Oakland. Just a phenomenal, very approachable wherever he was. Just a true loss. You know, the last memory that I have of Rickey Henderson was the last game at the Oakland Coliseum. I was not there, but Rickey was part of the broadcast team for the Oakland A's, not doing the games play by play, but he was part of the post game shows. And I remember him sharing his thoughts and just how deep it was. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Way too soon. Way too soon. Now the A's in Sacramento this coming season. BJ, two favorite Rickey. Yeah. That's when I said gone too soon, that's exactly who I was thinking about as well. Was Bill Walton. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, let's try to regroup here. Let's listen to, because I got to do my job, get you guys ready for this one, because it is a massive game. And in fact, it's 3:03. This game's coming up. We're just going to end it here. Do me a favor. Make sure you come back at halftime. Jerry Reynolds be with us right here at the half. Keys to the game, you know them. They didn't change from last game. Mike Brown came out and said that he does want this team, wants to see them play physical without fouling in the first 5 minutes. That is what he's looking for. Much more on this De'Aaron Fox news, much more on tonight in the game. Jerry Reynolds, halftime. Be right back here with us. We're looking forward to it. And then post-game, Grant and I will wrap the night up for you, taking your calls. A lot to talk about with De'Aaron, a lot to talk about with this game. This is massive. The Kings have to have a split today. Got to be a split. Got to get it done. So we will see you back after the first 24 minutes. Thanks for being here. And if you are just joining us, yes, the passing of Rickey Henderson at 65. God rest his soul. Have a great one. We'll see you at the half.